Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 webinar series. I am your host, Tim Farmeter, and today we are excited for our spotlight as it is going to shine on a franchise model that is 100% business to business. It offers over 20 different revenue streams that will always be needed for the clients. This will give the franchise owners both residual revenue and add-on services to provide. This is going to create very long-term relationships with their client, the result of which is a franchise system that sees an average unit volume of nearly $5 million per year. Got your attention? I thought so. But before we get to that story, let's tell you this story. Fran Coach, who are we? We are a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals who are interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with over 500 of the top franchisors in the country, spanning nearly 60 industries. We have two basic goals. Number one is to simply educate clients enough to determine if franchise ownership is the right path. If it is, goal number two is to help each client find the absolute best franchise for them to own. That is, believe it or not, that's the easy part due to our in-depth client assessment process. Best of all, there is never, ever any fee for our service. So that's a little bit about us, but you're not here for that. You are here for our fantastic guest. Today, we're going to talk to Mark Behrens. Mark is the Vice President of Franchise Development for the franchise we are very pleased to shine our spotlight on, and that is Citywide Facility Solutions. Mark, how are you, sir? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tim, great. Pleasure to be here. Really appreciate you setting this up, and looking forward to a good meeting here.
As are we, and with our teaser, I'm guessing everybody else is a little bit too. So this is we've been big fan of what you guys do for a long time. So excited to kind of chat a little bit about it. So we got a bunch of questions we're going to fire at you there, brother. So buckle up. But to begin with, just tell us just a little bit about who the heck is Citywide.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Tim, for that introduction and that lead up. What Citywide is a business-to-business, as you mentioned, a business-to-business sales and management franchise model. What our owners do, and we have 70 locations in the US and one in Canada, what our owners do is manage building maintenance services for commercial properties. The main day in and day out recurring revenue stream is janitorial and cleaning services, and from there it's everything from landscaping, window washing, carpet cleaning, snow removal, roof repair. I'm not going to go through 24 different services, but needless to say, they're pretty much anything that can be done internally and externally in a building, we manage. And when I say we manage that process, we are not a cleaning company. We're not a landscaper. We're not a roof repair company. All the work is done through independent businesses, independently owned and operated local businesses that specialize in those particular services. So when our owners go out and get a client and they're going to manage 4 different services for that property, they will go out and build relationships with a janitorial company, a landscaper, a window washer, and a carpet cleaner, and then that independent business will go in and do the work. Our owner will manage the whole process for the client and for the independent contractor. It's almost like they're a general contractor, if you will, managing these services.
Awesome. So you've got all of this, all these different things you're doing without the headache of all of the labor that goes with it.
That's correct. Our owners do not hire hourly people to go out and do the work. There's no equipment, there's no vehicles, no supplies, no warehouses for any of that, because the independent business that specializes in that service takes care of all that. The people that our owners will hire are going to be professional salespeople that are going to go out and bring in the accounts. They're going to have account managers that will manage those accounts, and then they will have operations people that will oversee the work that the independent businesses are doing. So our model, as you said, business-to-business sales and management, working out of an office environment, and then going out into the client to manage the process for that client and for that independent contractor.
Awesome. Well, good. Now, and you touched on a little bit of the couple of things here on this slide, and just total side note, whoever this owner is, Jeff, when I first saw this slide, he is the spitting image of a buddy of mine that I've known for about 20 years. So it kind of freaked me out. I'm like, wait, when did he become an owner of Citywide? But it's clearly not him. But
Yeah.
I know we talked, I kind of, teased a little bit, and these are all, when we talk money things, these are all the things that we found in the franchise disclosure documents. So it's not we're giving away secrets or anything. These are all things kind of publicized. But average unit is one thing. That top quartile is pretty darn good too, right? So but you guys have been around for a long time as well. That's again shows the kind of the consistency of what this business model can do.
Well, I can tell you that Jeff is a second generation owner of Citywide. His father started it in 1961. Jeff came into the business in the mid 90s after he graduated from college, and he started the franchise model in 2001. And this slide is a little bit outdated. As I said, we've got 70 locations in the US and one in Canada. And you're correct. Last year, our average owner did 4.7 million. Top quartile 10. The average gross profit margin is 32%. So very, very strong. We're also, with just these 71 locations, we are now the 209th largest franchise company in the world. So that's something we're very proud of. And it speaks to the unit economics. We're a 300, last year we did 300 million in revenue. And I can tell everybody on the phone, big question looking at franchises today in the last 7 months is COVID. And COVID, I hate to say it, but COVID has been a boon to our industry because we go out and clean buildings. And while some properties have closed, like schools and churches and office space, we have been doing so much COVID cleaning that we have had record revenue producing months, the last 7 months, the highest that we've ever had.
We'll talk a little about the just the industry in general, and I think you're right on the COVID part. I think I fly from Arizona to Florida frequently, even during all of this stuff, and talking to some flight attendants over the last couple months, and people, you see people with their little wipes cleaning down their seat right on an airplane. You kind of ask a flight attendant, and well, how clean is it now? And they're like, crazy how clean it is because of this. And then you ask them, well, what was it like before? And they kind of roll their eyes like, you don't want to know. So even places that were kind of clean, we got a whole different perspective on what clean really is all about, right? So from that perspective, but just industry in general, just give us a little bit and kind of who you're working with. Mark, I think we lost you, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
All right. So the commercial building maintenance industry is a $100 billion industry. It's growing every year. While nothing is recession proof, we are very recession resistant. And when I say that, no matter what's going on in the economy and things are getting cut back on, every single day, thinking back to 08, 09 when we had the financial crisis and things were really, really down, our owners grew because no matter what's going on, buildings still need to be cleaned on a daily basis. You can't have a dirty building when because people are going in and out every single day. They might cut back on some of the cosmetic things like landscaping or power washing or carpet cleaning for that matter, but every single day buildings need to be cleaned. So, in downtimes, we typically are still doing well. And, in our world, we do have an untapped market opportunity for two reasons. One, as you mentioned earlier in the call, we have over 24 different revenue streams to offer. And two, our territories are extremely large. They range in size from 1 to 2 million in population. And they have anywhere from on the low end, maybe 5,000 up to 10,000 plus commercial properties in that given territory. So there's a great opportunity to scale within that one territory. And the value proposition that we bring to the client is that we're going to manage the whole building maintenance process for them. They're going to deal with one person for multiple services. They're going to deal with one invoice for multiple services. They never have to deal with the vendor again. And then for the independent contractor that's doing the work, we're going to get them more work than they have now. We're going to pay them every 30 days, where they might be getting paid from the client in 60 or 90 days. And they never have to deal with the client again. So we're bringing a great deal of value to the building, and we're bringing a great deal of value to the independent contractor.
The person you're talking to in the kind of your client, I guess, if you will, talk a little bit about that, because we ran across somebody a few years back. We were one of our clients. We were kind of talking about this industry for them, and they had worked at a pretty big auto dealer, and the guy had been the finance manager for years and years. And car dealerships, it's all about getting the deal done, then go get another one. And he had said, he's like, well, was kind of references like, where the heck were these guys back then? Because I got the owner of the dealership coming in saying, hey, the place is a mess. Can you figure this out? And he's like, I'm trying to get deals done and get people the money, or I'm losing my job. So this isn't people just sitting around full time in charge of managing their facilities. They're running, for the most part, they've got another full-time job at that location that this kind of got added on. So you're really taking something huge off their plate for them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Our typical customer is a church, a school, an auto dealership, as you mentioned, an office, a small office building, a hospital, a medical facility, as large as a sports arena, sports stadium, a distribution center. Most of the people, if not all of them, but I would say a very high percentage, to your point, you think of a church or a school or a medical office, right? There's not a person in there solely focused on building maintenance. It could be the church secretary who's doing it, the office manager, the medical office. It could be the vice principal of the school, the fixed ops manager of a dealership. So yes, we are basically going in and saying, we will manage this whole process for you, so you can focus on the other work that your main functions that you do day in and day out. And if you have an issue, you call us. It's one phone call. We'll take care of it. It's one person you're dealing with multiple services, as I mentioned earlier, one invoice. We're going to make your life a great deal easier, and we're going to save you a lot of time and effort, because we're going to take this off your plate. We're sitting on the same side of the desk as you are, managing this process for you.
You're going to make them look good, and really by doing nothing other than turning it all over to you. So,
right.
So cool. So great benefits from a client standpoint, right? So that's easy to see. So what about for a franchisee? What's kind of citywide being able to do for your owners?
Yeah, and I think we talked some of this. You led up to it, and I've been kind of talking about it. But obviously, as we mentioned, over 24 different revenue streams. You can scale because the territory is so large. Typically in franchising, if you're going to do $5 million in revenue, you might have to have 2 or 3 or 4 different locations or territories or franchises. With us, you can do it with one. The strong ROI is definitely there, 32% gross profit margin. I obviously cannot discuss net profit because we don't disclose that, but our owners will, and they can, and you'll be impressed with what you hear. Our owner network are very, very, they really like each other, and they're there to support each other. Even though they're all independently owned and operated, they really work with each other, because the stronger the brand as a whole, the better it is for the individual. And it's a legacy business. Jeff is a second generation owner. It's a privately held company. We're not private equity backed, so we can take the time to do it right, if you will, and not worry about private equity breathing down our necks to just get deals done. So when we talk about a legacy opportunity, one of Jeff's daughters now is thinking about coming into the business after college, so it could be a third generation. We do have a handful of owners that have a second location where their son or daughter are working in the business. We have I would say out of the 70 locations, 20% of them are female owned and operated. We have a number of husband and wife owners as well. So this business model appeals to pretty much anybody with a strong, we're going to talk about who we're looking for in a minute, but I think these things here, what we bring to the client, to the independent are great, but here's what we bring to the potential franchisee.
That legacy opportunity, I think, is something that gets people kind of forget about sometimes, or don't even realize is possible. But when you're sitting there in that corporate world and you're vice president of blah blah blah, when you're ready to step away, you can't just say, hey, I'm gonna give my VP position over to my kid because he's my kid.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. But as a small business owner,
yep,
it can. And even if the family member never works a day in the business, it's a family business. They're learning.
Yes.
Our kids are learning. Mine is 7, and he already knows. Well, dad's business or this or that, whatever it is. He knows those things, and there's nothing wrong with going to college, getting a degree, and going to get a job. But our kids learn there's another
yep.
path for
Yep.
them, and I think that's hugely important. And I think you talked about the connectivity with your owners. I think that goes to some of just the overall core values that Citywide as a franchise system has in place as well, which is awesome. Which again, you can touch on this a little bit, but from we'll just probably can say more on this than you, but from our situation, looking at franchises, not everybody has this, right? This is, you mentioned the private equity piece in franchises is huge. This is like, for lack of a better way to say it, this is just you guys and really that kind of family feel to it, which is hugely important. And I guess, again, I know it's one thing when you say it, it's another thing when I say it, but I would just say from my experience and even getting to meet a lot of your team down in Miami or South Florida pre-pandemic, right? Was a fantastic experience for me to see your whole facility down there, see what that was like. And there was a father-son there in Tampa. So a great example of that. So if there's something here you wanted to touch on, but I really wanted to just share this with people based on our experience with Citywide, that these aren't just things on a slide. These are, you guys really practice these things regularly, and I like that.
Yeah, and you just took the words out of my mouth. They're not just words that we put up to think that we're great, right? When you start, anybody that comes through our process and you start talking with our home office people, at a discovery day, and especially when you start talking with our owners, this will just naturally come out. And hopefully when you're working with me, you'll get that as well. So thank you for putting that up there.
Yeah, kind of hard. It's easy to put them on a slide. It's hard to hide them in real life, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And then that kind of rolls into, right? So we see the benefits for the client, right? We see the different benefits for a franchisee, but it's still that's a scary step, right? What happens when I'm out there? What are you doing to help support me at that point? And this is, I know this is not even close to everything, but this is a good chunk. So talk a little bit about a couple of these things for us.
And every picture in here are actual pictures. That was Jeff and his family. This is our training class we had way before pre-COVID, about a year ago. Basically, in a nutshell, we'll go into this in much greater detail down the road if we start the process with anybody. But not one of our owners woke up one day and said to the Tim Parmeters that they were working with, hey, I think I know what I want to do, and that's own a franchise in commercial building maintenance, where the main service we're going to manage is janitorial and cleaning, right? That's the last thing that they thought they would do. But we're going to talk about what we're looking for in a minute, who our owners come from. But our owners come from mid to high level to C-suite level positions. They come from high-level Wall Street positions. They do come from some previous ownership. So they're high-level B2B management people, operations people. They understand business. They have strong business acumen. So they're basically taking those skills and bringing them to the citywide opportunity, which is great because we don't have to train them on sales or management or financials, but we do have to get them up to speed in our industry. So when somebody signs a franchise agreement, we put them through a 60-day onboarding program where they're taking tutorials through our online university, Citywide U, IOU. They're meeting and shadowing with a couple of different owners for a few days at a time. We're helping them find their first salesperson. We're helping them find their first small office to work out of. They come to training for 2 weeks after that 60-day onboarding program. And obviously we're doing it virtually right now, where we get them up to speed. So the support that we give somebody coming in the door before they even open their door is extremely strong. Once they open the door, they're going to be assigned an operations person that will be with them, until they're done being a citywide owner, or their son or daughter's done being citywide owner. So the post-opening support and training is continuous and ongoing. So needless to say, I could talk about that for half an hour, but very, very strong. And again, it will come out in validation when people reach out to our owners.
Yeah, one, it's interesting you mentioned that when we have our clients, when they get to that point, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here for our podcast series that we have, and one of the things we talk about is there's one specifically just on validation calls, right? So you're going through, you're vetting citywide, maybe another franchise or two, and you get all the way to the point where you get to talk to existing owners. And some of the things that you're going to be able to learn. And one question we always tell people is around support and you don't want to say, hey, have you gotten a lot of support? Because not everybody has the same needs, but it has the support and met your expectations. And I wouldn't care who they were talking to citywide, whichever one of the 70 owners, the answer is going to be yes. From this, and whether it's right away or down the road. So, and again, those are things that, it's one thing to talk about, but that's why during the process, when you get an opportunity to talk to owners, those are literally referred to as validation calls. You should be validating what's been said, or you're going to find out, hey, that Mark dude, he was full of crap, right? Or they're going to hear that and go, wow, Mark undersold how much support there really is. And just like, I'll save the drama on this one. That's exactly what people hear with Citywide. So we talked about this a little bit, but what's anything else you want to kind of tell us on, what's that Citywide owner look like, and maybe some other things that are important to you guys?
Yeah, like I said, I think I take away strong business to business off the board right this minute. And I think, those other 5 points there, whether it's Citywide or any other franchise or any other corporate organization, everybody's looking for that type of people, right? Hard driving, or I should say, not hard driving per se, but, people that are passionate about what they do. They're drivers, they're problem solvers. They want to work hard. They want to take control of their own destiny. We do want that strong B2B sales and management background. If somebody doesn't have a sales background or a sales management background, that's fine, because they're typically going to hire that salesperson right out of the gate to go out and really do the heavy lifting on the sales side of it. But somebody that has to have strong business acumen to manage people, to understand a P&L and a financial statement, and how that works within in a business environment is very, very strongly needed in this situation. We're not going to train you on how to sell or how to manage, right? We are looking for, people that have, 20, 15, 20 plus, 30 plus years in business.
And you mentioned, hiring somebody that's kind of in that sales role, and one of the last little things down on the bottom right says prepared to build a team. And again, that's not the labor. We're not hiring the cleaners, right? You've got basically sales, account management, vendor management. I mean, this is all everything is very professional. Even the people who are going, the people are going in to do the work, right? You're not managing the people, you're managing the person who's managing them, that small business owner, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much you've got kind of that, I'll say white collar, but I don't know if anybody wears a white shirt anymore. So it's the Jake from State Farm, the khaki pants and polo, and and really that kind of professional look is what you've got, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good. So cool, man. So we've got a good understanding of we talked about kind of the revenue potential, revenue, and people probably get mad when I say this, but like you can make good money at any franchise but you have to find the right fit, follow the plan, and then scale accordingly. You've got the scaling already kind of factored in. We understand the value prop for your clients, the support and all those things from the franchise, what a franchise looks like. And we already talked about that revenue potential. So let's get to what are the costs, man? What are the costs? Walk us through a little bit of the kind of what that investment might be.
Yeah, absolutely. We've kind of break it up into 3 buckets: the initial upfront fees, the working capital, and somebody's personal living expenses, which we don't know. Obviously, that's going to vary from person to person. So, upfront fee, the franchise fee is $70,000. The territory fee typically is going to be $25,000, and the IT fee $8,000. Working capital, probably more than $145,000, only because you start out with 1 salesperson. By the end of the first year, you probably have a second or even third employee that you bring on board. So when we have a total investment range here, I always tell people it really is going to be in the $350,000 to $400,000 range, all in first year. And again, we will talk about that. We'll talk about the financing options that are available, talking about what your personal expenses are. But we are looking for people to have a minimum liquidity of $150,000 and a minimum net worth of $500,000, because there is going to be some investment. But when you start talking with our owners and start hearing about the ROI, you will see what the opportunities are down the road when you start hitting your stride and you're getting into the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15. Our largest owner last year did $18 million in revenue. What the return on that investment is. So I think, anytime you're looking at a franchise, this hits you over the head real quickly. So you've got to be able to do your due diligence and talk with the owners and hear what they put into it and where they're at now and where they were at when they started out and where they are now and in the future. And you can kind of get over that initial pause here when you see those kinds of numbers.
Well, you're also talking about a franchise that is you're looking at $1 million to $2 million in population for a territory, and that's less of an investment than you would make to have 1 Subway location that will make you a fraction of that, right? So not to bag on Subway, but that's the reality of service-based, and then you guys basically just bake in the territories into that scalability. So, and for people who don't know, the working capital side of it is, I have an appreciation for franchisors that are really kind of maybe almost overestimating. It's not about hey, we got enough to get started and get through the first couple of weeks. That's a recipe for disaster, right? These things don't start just raining $5 million in the first couple of weeks, right? So if they did, then we'd all do it. But
I'd do it.
Takes some time, and you want to get. I'd rather have somebody get 9 months down the road and they look in their bank account and they go, oh crap, I got too much money.
Yeah,
that's a good problem to have. Then oh geez, now what? We didn't have enough. So from our perspective, I greatly appreciate the fact that you guys are padding that in there. And again, make sure you can have an employee 2, 3 at the end of the year. That's how you're going to grow and get to that, that top quartile down the road. So that's awesome. What are we missing? Anything else you'd like us to know about Citywide that we did not touch on?
No, I love whoever is on the phone. If you're interested, I'd love to do a deep dive with you. But it really is a unique business model. It's in an industry you probably didn't think you would ever consider. And again, most of our owners didn't consider that, if not all of them. There are probably 1 or 2, but It's a unique business model, and we're very upfront. The first year or two, it's a grind. You've got to get out there and bring in clients. But once you start that process and you start to grow, and we show you the path of growth, you'll kind of like what you see. As you said, it's not going to start raining down, $5 million in a year. But our goal is to get people to 10 million in 10 years, and we have people that do it. That have been doing that. So I'm very excited to hear the response after this, and hopefully, we'll be able to talk to some people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, no, and I, the last thing I would tell you on that, when you think, well, 10 million in 10 years, or you've got the tenure, and I don't want to get into this tangent, but you've got some really tenured owners in the system, and that wouldn't happen if it, I don't know how to better say that. That wouldn't happen if it sucked, right? And so again, it goes back to the culture, the opportunity, all of those things. So, Mark, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I didn't know if anybody had a quick question or two. Tim?
Mark, I muted myself there. So no, I wanted to make sure. I know you guys said you had a hard stop, so I want to make sure.
Okay, good.
We get you out of here, and everybody else. I hope this will help enlighten anyone interested in franchise ownership to some of the amazing possibilities that are out there. If you'd like to learn more about becoming a franchise owner for Citywide or any of the 500 plus franchises we are partnered with, then let's schedule a brief introductory call to do so. So here's all the fun ways to track us down. Call, email, follow us anywhere online. There's never ever any fee for our service. So we encourage you to take that first step today to help create your better tomorrow. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe, and we look forward to connecting soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.